Hello. Welcome. I have Lisa with me today, and I only have about 5 left of these Facebook Lives. I can't believe I'm towards the end. But we wanted to talk about narcissists today. Really fun topic.
Big can of worms.
Yeah. So the reason that this is coming up is that I've actually been seeing a lot of activity on Facebook about it, like people sharing links about like how to deal with one and how to know if there's one in your life and tools. And we have both experienced narcissists and people close to us. So first of all, how would you describe what a narcissist is?
In a very simple way, it's someone that takes your power.
Okay. And can you give some examples of that?
Choices that you make, the way you spend your time, the things you say, the people you're with. Narcissists love to have an element, if not total, control over people. And they tend to target different people. There's sometimes they set people up, they triangulate a lot. If you are in a relationship with a narcissist, they tend to set people up so that they can, what am I trying to say?
Like work against them?
Yeah, there's like a good guy, bad guy, and it makes them feel powerful because something like that is going on. And it's called the narcissistic supply.
The narcissist. Oh, okay.
Supply, yeah.
I have had experience. I was in a relationship with somebody that has narcissistic tendencies, and I didn't know it until I was done, and I started sort of like researching it. Same thing, like something popped onto my feed, and I started looking at the qualities of a narcissist and what they do. And I was like, oh my God, like that's what I dealt with. And and one of the things that I remember doing, I mean, I consider myself pretty strong. But I remember trying to please them, and it was impossible.
Yes, it's constant.
It was impossible to please this person. And I also remember thinking, because I'm kind of fighting back, like I'm not really a victim in it, but there was such a dark dynamic of the control that you talked about. And because I was fighting against that control, I guess I thought like, oh, I'm not a victim or enabling.
Well, that's part of their game sometimes.
Okay.
They love to break down powerful people to control them. That makes them even feel more in charge. And what's really interesting, I think that we all, like everyone has the tiniest bit of a narcissistic tendency because we're self-protective.
Yeah.
And that's okay. It's just when it starts to interfere with other people's agency. Narcissists are very, very aware of the outer image. Always outer image. What do the neighbors think? What do these people think? What
does it look like?
What does it look like? And so oftentimes they're just, honestly, I think in my experience, narcissists have extremely low self-esteem.
But they don't know it.
And they're injured. They're injured from
deeply wounded.
Yeah,
deeply wounded
from childhood, from who knows what in different areas of their own life, and that's how it manifests as they get older in relationships. And someone might evolve into a different kind of narcissist over time, also.
Okay. Well, that's the thing that I've been coming back to. If you're somebody that's empathetic, and if you can see the past and see where it came from and see they had a really messed up childhood, and feel compassionate and be like, well, I know they're acting this. I remember I would do this. I know they're acting this way because they didn't get this from their mom or from their dad or whatever. And so there's this element of compassion that comes in, but with with a narcissist, I hate labeling people. I hate saying
Yeah.
narcissist, but with somebody with those tendencies, it's like they're so unhealthy, but they're not doing the work to heal themselves.
No.
They're not taking responsibility. We all have wounds. We're all unhealthy in some ways, but there comes a point when you have to take responsibility for those
Right.
wounds and heal them yourself.
And that's another thing that narcissists do, is that they won't heal themselves, because then they can't be a victim anymore. So oftentimes they have different paradigms with different people. Like they may not want to take care of themselves, because then they have to step up and do what they're supposed to do. And as long as they, like, just say they won't take their vitamins, they won't take their medication or whatever. It's because they get to be sick. And that gives them power. Why? Because then they don't have to do this, they don't have to do that. Or they look like a victim for the outer world. Poor me. So there's different strategies that they can employ at different times.
Yeah. Now, the child of a narcissist, what does that feel like and look like for the child? I mean, I was just visiting a friend,
Right.
and she was telling me about the realization that she had that both of her parents are narcissists, and that, I was in a relationship with one, so I remember, like, wanting so bad to get that love that, like, wasn't
Right.
there, and, like, trying to please to get the love.
Right.
And when she was describing it as a child, she was saying the same thing, and I was like, I can't imagine being the child of a parent like that, who's incapable of this
Right.
deep connection and deep love, and only cares about how it looks like to the outside. And I also remember reading, like, they'll put you on display a lot, like,
Oh, for sure.
they'll put you on display, but then there's no deep connection.
There's no deep connection. And I think for what the child ends up feeling is a constant need to fix or to please a parent. For example, if a narcissistic parent is coming home from being out away from the house, the child might, I better hurry and pick up my toys, or I better hurry and make my bed, or I have to turn off the TV. I'm not supposed to watch TV. There's all these different things.
Wow.
And it gets, they in a way, I think, have somewhat of a secret life in their head, because
The child
does, because of the way that they want to play, or they want to be a kid. But what happens is that they're suppressed. Their childhood is kind of suppressed or taken away from them, even, and some have to constantly be an accessory, I guess.
Yeah, that's,
you would say, to the parent, which, that's a sad situation. So
for somebody that, say they were a child of parents that were narcissists, how do they go about becoming whole as an adult and healing as an adult?
that's a really great question. The spiritual work that you teach can definitely help a child that comes from that family, or family like that, or anyone that has a relationship with anyone like that.
But there's, like, specific therapy as
Yes,
well,
yes,
right?
there is specific therapy. There are podcasts, there are books. If you go on Amazon, type in Narcissists, you'll see a ton of books that come up, and check out the ratings. There are some that have 2,000 ratings, so those are obviously the ones that are
Resonated and
used
helped,
a lot. It doesn't mean the newer ones aren't good, but it's definitely something that you can work through. But don't do it alone. If you need a therapist, if you need a spiritual coach, if you need a life coach, if you need just a really good friend that has those abilities to help you through that. It's a lot. It's a deep work, for sure.
It's heavy, right? And
It's
then,
heavy.
and it's funny because all these things, even articles and stuff that I see about narcissists, they're always super judgmental to the person, because the kind of people are very destructive. They're very destructive. Like in a relationship, if you're with them, they take, I mean, you give it, but they take all your power.
All of it.
All of it.
Yeah.
And so...
because you're doing it to keep the peace.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You're doing it to not make waves, because they tend to target people that are kind and loving and giving. And
like if you feel like you're walking on eggshells
yes.
with somebody, that's a common symbol. What sign? I mean, what are some other signs?
If you're waiting for the next shoe to fall, or the eggshells, or if you hear a lot of their messages in your head a lot, like you'll never be successful, or why don't you lose 5 pounds, or you know, or
the criticism,
constant, very personal criticisms too. They feel they like to do things that are jarring, like whoa, you know, you didn't expect that.
I remember feeling this person was like Jekyll and Hyde.
Yes.
Like they have a very warm, charismatic,
public,
yeah. magnetic persona. But then there's this other side that you're like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it's destructive, very destructive.
I think one of the deeper feelings that someone that is, you know, either parented by a narcissist or is in a relationship with one, and this can be girlfriends too.
Yeah.
You know, like friendship things. It doesn't have to be a romantic relationship. But the other thing is that they can feel absolutely like they cannot say what they really think to this person.
Okay. That's a sign.
Yes. You feel like you have to shut yourself down, or you can't pursue what you want to pursue. With your time or your money.
Okay. So if somebody's recognizing these signs in, especially like a relationship and somebody they're involved with, like,
get out.
Yeah.
You know, and can narcissists heal? Maybe, but they have to first have that self-realization.
Yeah.
Oh, I need help.
Okay. Yeah.
And so a lot of times people like that never get there. I believe anybody can heal doing the work, but
yeah, me too.
And with therapists and, you know, all the different tools that we have, but
they gotta want it and see it.
They have to want it for themselves, not because you tell them, or not because you're going to break up with them or whatever. That can't be the motivation.
Yeah.
The motivation has to be because they want to be better people.
And on the other side, if you're in a relationship, if you're with a narcissist and then you leave, it can be really hard to leave. You know, I wasn't with like an extreme one. I was with somebody that just had some tendencies. So, but I've heard of horrific stories.
There's the guilt. If you feel guilt and shame, those are the big tools that narcissists use.
But on the other side, there will be, oh my God, such liberty and freedom and deep breaths and also like a remembering of who you are and remembering who you are and taking back the pieces that you gave, like the pieces of your power that you gave. Because if you don't do that internal work, you will choose somebody that's similar again.
Right.
Like you have to recognize what in you was attracted to that kind of person. Like now, I could spot that kind of person across the room. I don't care how sexy they are.
Right.
I mean, I can spot it, and there's nothing in me attracted to that kind of person. But, you know, a couple decades ago, there sure was, and there was work that I had to do on the other side of it.
Part of that, I think, for people that fall into those types of relationships, you want to be taken care of, and it kind of feels good to be taken care of. But then there's a line that's crossed, you know. I think in our minds, maybe just in our culture here, but I think being taken care of, we think we have to give away our power to do that. And it's really not a taken care of. It's really just I see you. That's what we really want. We really want someone to really see us and appreciate us and not necessarily protect us from anything.
Yeah. Well, I never felt protected or taken care of in mine.
Didn't you?
No. That was not the dynamic, but...
Well, it's kind of how they wheel you in.
Yeah.
That's what I meant by that.
Yeah.
The charismatic.
Charismatic,
Let's
magnetic.
go do this. And,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, I know there's a lot of people that know people in this situation, or you've been in this situation, and it's really tough to deal with, and it's tough to get out of if you're in a relationship like that. And the healing process, if you had parents that were narcissists, is you got to go deep. So, but that's the choice we make. When we want to be healthy, we just have to keep on looking at every other thing that comes up, every other issue, every other wound, and choosing to heal it, because we do not want to pass this stuff on.
Right.
All right. Thank you, Lisa.
Thank you, Bethany.